Burbs is one of the most underrated movies of the late 80s. With Tom Hanks, Princess Leia, Bruce Dern, that one guy, and Corey Feldman before he was a depressing mess.
He wrote an album and nobody liked it.
Yeah, poor Corey.
Poor Corey Feldman, but he was in Friday the 13th Part 4. Yeah, The Burbs is pretty good. Directed by Joe Dante of Gremlins fame. Gremlins 1 and Gremlins 2, two of the best movies of all time. Yeah, but this is one you hear not talked about very much.
No, nobody ever talks about this
Not
movie.
normally. But it's great. It's like super funny. Really like different for Joe Dante, especially when you first watch this movie, you think it's going to take like a supernatural element. It stays pretty grounded through the whole movie, but it's really ridiculous, and all the characters have their own eccentricities, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, I love the way it brings you into the movie. It does that classic zoom in from space angle, and you start right in on Tom Hanks and just how boring his life is.
Yeah, he's absolutely miserable. All he does is he's got a week off of vacation from work, and he's got nothing to do but sit around and creep on all of his neighbors and what they're doing nonstop. Kind of like a perverted Rear Window.
Yeah, I love that the beginning of the movie shows him watching a dog take a shit in somebody's yard, and it just, the way the camera pushes in on him, it almost implies that this is like the most important, most significant moment of his day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a dog taking a shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it just goes to show you how uneventful this guy's life is. He's on vacation and he'd rather watch a dog take a shit than go take his family to the lake.
Mm-hmm. To do the same thing that all the other families do, as he stresses very, very much. Like, why do I just want to go up there and do the same thing I can do right here in my own house?
Right.
But no, it's the impressive part, I think, of the whole movie that I was really impressed with is for something about something so mundane, the attention to detail and the camera work. The cinematography in the movie is great.
It
And
really is.
like the rest of Joe Dante's work, like The Howling, both Gremlins movies, like his cinematographers really pay attention to detail, and it keeps you engaged, kind of like some of the 80s Spielberg movies, like Spielberg produced movies like The Goonies or Jaws, or like movies that have simple premises that they spend so much time on the cinematography. Like, it just shows how good the movie is.
The spooky neighbors.
The Scoopy.
The spooky neighbors are spooky. Are they Scoopy?
They live in a dump.
Yeah, they live in a dump. And it just adds to their creepiness.
You don't really get it much at the beginning because it's kind of just like a silhouette shot of the house. But like you get these really huge lights coming out of the basement.
Oh, yeah, it does show a little bit.
And it's
of
like
that.
the whole house is shaking, and then it just, boom, transition to the next morning. Nothing even really happens other than the noises and...
Yeah, this movie does that a lot. Just goes from nighttime, dead of night, to just instantly in the morning.
But there's a lot, like we said before, a lot of clever transitions with that. Like the Mr. Rogers one that we'll talk about, yeah.
Oh, God. I want to talk about that now.
That's good. So it starts off, Tom Hanks is in the kitchen with, you're introduced to Carrie Fisher, and their marriage is miserable.
Because, they're bickering and arguing over how he's going to spend his vacation.
They do that the whole movie. They just fight about...
That's the whole premise, is Tom Hanks is on vacation.
She's like, you need to relax a little more. You're bent out of shape all the time. And you can tell their little fucking kid just hates both their guts. He's barely in the movie, and all of it's like, oh, God, I'm so embarrassed by my parents.
And they have that one shot of him after the bee scenario where he's just like... Oh, my dad's a dick.
Yeah, he fucking hates his dad. So she's like telling him to get his head out of his ass and go up to the cabin, and he goes on some like long tirade about like, I'm not going to the cabin like everybody else to just go up there and get drunk and get stung by bees or something.
Yeah, let's watch the guy with the big head fall down the stairs or some shit.
Yeah. Tom Hanks on one of his classic 80s tirades that he gets into.
He just always does that thing where his voice cracks. That's like his classic move from Big on through the 90s.
I don't know why you're so concerned with me wanting to go on a vacation. Why?
That's my vacation.
You know, I am very, very worried about you.
Why?
You're acting like what?
What am I acting like, Carol?
Well, let me tell you. That's the Tom Hanks.
Yeah, gotta love Tom Hanks.
He's great. Carrie Fisher, though, for like being such a big name at that time period after the Star Wars trilogy, like they really just don't use her much at all.
No, she's just in there for a few minutes. I bet this was
before or after cocaine.
This was definitely after or during cocaine, but
She seems pretty normal.
I would just imagine they didn't have a lot of time with her, so they probably filmed all her scenes like, we have 3 weeks to film Princess Leia's
Bring
scenes.
Carrie Fisher in! And as the film progresses, make her cleavage show more.
Did they do that?
Yeah, it's if you notice through the whole movie, her V-neck just gets deeper and deeper.
Until she's wearing
The slave layout. Yeah, it's pretty fucking funny. So you're introduced to Tom Hanks, and he's always in his fucking pajamas and his robe.
Yeah.
And then he walks outside, and it cuts over to Bruce Dern's yard. And that's when we're first introduced to Bruce Dern.
Oh yeah, that's before the breakfast.
Because at nighttime you see his silhouette in the window of him smoking the cigar. But then in the morning he's like out raising his flag while Tom Hanks is outside watching the dog take a shit.
Yeah.
The neighbor's dog.
Yeah, the old man sends his dog off on a little
to take a shit in that guy's
mission.
yard. Yep. And so he has the girlfriend who's like way too young, Blondie.
Yeah, she's
as they call
like
her.
20 years old.
Yeah, and she's got on like the most revealing outfit.
Her job is to just be hot.
Yep, that's they just.
Like, you need to be hot, and you got like 5 lines. So
you think you can memorize these?
Bend over while you pretend to work on a garden. Let Corey Feldman say stupid shit about you, and you're golden.
But yeah, so Bruce Dern, he's got these stupid ass aviators, and he's going outside to raise his flagpole, and he puts the flag on, and he clicks the button to go up, and he starts backpedaling, and he steps in the dog shit. And Corey Feldman, you're introduced to him at the same time next door. He's always painting his fucking house for some reason.
Yeah.
You don't really know why. But yeah, so he's over there, and he comes over and makes some lewd remark to the blonde girlfriend. I don't even remember what he says.
Oh yeah, he says no tan lines.
Yeah, no tan lines this time. It's some of the characters. They don't say their names very frequently, but I remember Carrie Fisher just calling her Blondie at some point during the movie.
I don't remember what her name was. I know that Bruce Dern, her husband, was Rumsfeld. They said his name a lot.
Fat guy neighbor.
So she was
know.
Mrs. Rumsfeld.
Fat guy neighbor. I'm not really sure his name either.
That's Art.
It's Art. Yeah.
Art.
Yeah,
because you're introduced to him in the next scene when he's arguing with Carrie Fisher about his vacation, and he looks out the window, and Art's got a gun, trying to kill the crows in the back.
And his introduction is so great. It's like very Predator-esque.
Yeah.
He's got like the bush like hanging in front of his face that he's holding on to his gun, and he shoots the owl out, and then he does, because comedy comes in threes, shoots the owl, then he shoots another thing, and then he blasts Tom Hanks' light post on the outside of his house.
Yeah, and for some reason Tom Hanks just comes running outside like, hey, you're shooting in my yard.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
The Tom Hanks.
What should I do about it?
You are a toy. Yeah, Tom Hanks is an American hero.
Tom
an
Hanks
actual
is
treasure.
Wonderful, and I honestly think this was Tom Hanks' prime.
Yeah, the 80s. You got.
This was around the time of the Money Pit.
Money Pit's
this
so
is when
good.
he was like, he had comedy by the balls, man. He's done it all. Like right now, he's more like, I'm gonna play people who really existed, and I'm gonna do this heroic portrayal. But he used to be incredible at comedy.
He plays the perfect everyman who's not an everyman because he's got such a he's what Jason Bateman wishes he could be. Like Jason Bateman plays the same guy in every fucking movie, and there's nothing distinguishable about his personality from film to film. But Tom Hanks brings some uniqueness to every character that he's in.
Yeah.
When you watch the movie, you're just like, this guy owns the script. Like it's his. From like you talked about the Money Pit. He can do bodily comedy just hilarious. Like he's great at it. But then this, when he's doing more straightforward, just comedy lines.
He
like,
is the straight man of this movie.
He is.
Everybody else is the comic relief. He's the one straight man. Him and Carrie Fisher.
But he's still great to watch.
But he's the straight man, but he makes you laugh your ass off the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Because he cares about the character and he cares about the movie. That's why, I mean, in this period, 1989, Tom Hanks' career was like, trajectory was through the roof. He didn't have to do a Joe Dante movie. I mean, all Joe Dante had was Gremlins to his name, and he had The Howling. And he's like, I want to be a part of this. I want to do. Got him and Carrie Fisher. Like, that just goes to show you how many people love movies like this, and you don't get movies like this made anymore.
So yeah, it's really great build-up of boredom and mediocrity that kind of leads into you start to become interested in what are their neighbors up to, because everybody has some kind of backhanded remark towards the neighbors and
the Klopekses.
The
Klopeks.
And there's some confusion on whether or not that name is Slavic. I don't know if that seems pretty racist.
That's our drinking game.
Every time, yeah, we did make a drinking game where anytime somebody mentioned the name Klopek, we had to take a drink. Anytime somebody mentioned the fact that they may be Slavic, we had to take a drink. And we had to take a drink every time Corey Feldman said the word dude.
Dude!
Which resulted in more drinks than either of us had anticipated.
Yeah, but it was fine. It's cool. It's comfortable. So when you're introduced to the Klopekses, it's pretty interesting because everyone says like, oh, they never come out or anything, and then the one who introduces
the son even says, there's 3 of them. They only come out at night.
I see him digging holes in the backyard late at night. It's great, like just the little nuances of like how things are introduced. Tom Hanks is just like, oh, okay. He doesn't really care at first.
Yeah.
But then once the neighbors start getting invested, like Bruce Dern becomes just like infatuated with figuring out what's going on. Like,
oh yeah, Bruce Dern is the highlight of this movie for me.
God damn it. You know one thing about these old guys. They don't ever leave the house without their hair. No, sir. Walter left this house in a big hurry. What's the weird goddamn noise you got coming out of here all the time?
I think that we should go...
What have you got in the cellar here, Klopek?
Mark!
Yo, Rumsfeld! Awesome!
Are you okay?
Sorry. Yes, I'm all right.
That was very cool, man.
They get into some fucking antics like really early on, because I think the first time anything happens, all 3 of them go there at nighttime, right?
Before that, his neighbor Art, who's the pain in the ass, is like telling him he needs to go say hi to the neighbor because he's out getting the newspaper on the porch. And he's egging him on. Oh, you need to go get him. He's going to go inside. Oh, he's going inside. You lost him. So he goes inside, and then he's like, oh, you lost your chance. You should have gone and said hi to him. He lives right next to you. You need to do it. So then Tom Hanks is embarrassed. He's like, you embarrassed yourself in front of your son. So Tom Hanks is like, no, fuck that. You want to come? He starts pushing him in the street. Let's go do it together. Let's go knock on the door. Ring the doorbell. And at this point, the whole neighborhood's watching him. Corey Feldman, Bruce Dern.
And Bruce Dern makes the comment. He's like, they're fucking betting on who's going to go up to the door.
Bruce Dern is wonderful.
But the great part, too, is like the placement in the camera. Because you have Tom Hanks and the neighbor like in the foreground, but you have Bruce Dern placed here and his son and Corey Feldman behind him. So you have this like really like a long focus shot where you're seeing all 6 of them.
That's true.
Yeah, so they go up to the door to knock on the door, but like one of their foot goes through the front porch because the whole house is like dilapidated and falling apart. And none of like Tom Hanks finally does the.
Oh yeah, and when he knocks on the door, the address changes from like 669 to 666.
Yeah, and then that whole sign fucking falls off the house, and then the kid opens up. He's like,
bees chase him out. Yeah, they run off, get chased by the bees. Bruce Dern sprays him down. His son gets the embarrassment look on his face, like, oh, my dad's a real asshole.
And his dad is a real asshole.
His dad is kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and he's like, Tom Hanks is like, stop! You're spraying me too much. They're gone.
then later, Art comes knocking on the window while he's watching Jeopardy with Carrie Fisher.
As they're taking score of...
Yeah, they're taking notes and like, oh, what is Lincoln's birthday?
Yeah, they're on the couch, and he... At first, it seems like he's popping up in the window so Carrie Fisher won't see him. Because he drops back down to hide, but then she sees him. He's like, come outside. Tom Hanks is like, well, I gotta go out. I gotta see what he's talking about. And so that's when they go outside, and I'm pretty sure they see the thing in the basement again.
Yeah, the basement lights up, and it makes a really loud noise. And
Bruce Dern comes outside with this weird-looking...
Yeah, he's got the night vision scope.
Yeah. And they're trying to look in to see what's going on. And I can't remember what runs them off from the house this time.
So they hear all the loud noises, and the basement lights up, and then Bruce Dern says, "Oh, smells like they're cooking a goddamn cat over there."
Which they talked about earlier, how the guy who killed those people that was in the basement that has stunk the whole neighborhood up. Yeah, because they do a lot of a little bit of foreshadowing into what's going to happen next. That happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah. So, you got to be careful not to spoil it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good job so far.
Not spoil anything. You know we're going to spoil it anyway.
Yeah, it can be changed in editing.
Yeah. Fuck
but
off.
We might spoil it anyway without the editing. Probably. Fuck you. You thought we were going to edit out the spoilers? Well, go fuck yourself. This movie came out in 1989.
Where have you been?
You haven't seen this movie yet. Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Okay, just to be nice, to play nice, we'll do a spoiler alert. Skip to this time code, skip through the spoilers, because at this point we've told you enough.
Yeah, that's right. Watch the Burbs.
I'm a nice person!
Yeah.
I gave you the chance to skip.
We spoil every movie and every review!
But this one's special!
Okay, we'll spoil it, but we won't. Skip the time code.
Skip it, you fucking asshole. The leprechaun Klopek family member comes out of the garage in the car with the headlights off. And he pulls up slowly to the end of the driveway. And luckily it's trash day because these guys have trash cans to hide behind while they're spying on the neighbors. So they're hidden away as the neighbor pulls the car to the end of the driveway. He carries what's clearly a super heavy black trash bag over to the trash can, throws it in there, grabs a hoe out of the back seat, and just starts beating the shit out of it.
I could not believe he did that to that woman.
And he crams that shit into the trash can, and then gets back in the car, pulls in the driveway, and closes the door. Starts pouring rain, so the guys, they call it a night.
Yeah.
They call it a night, and they want to know. They want to know what's going on, but they figure the trash is going nowhere.
And is that when Tom Hanks has the really crazy fucking fever dream?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's close.
Or is that, so it just jumps to the next morning when our trash company comes with the incredible Dick Miller.
Dick Miller. Dick Miller is a legend.
Dick Miller is a legend of schlock comedy.
He's
horror
the best.
Films. Yeah.
He's one of the best low-key character actors to ever exist.
His best performance is Goonies, or not Goonies, Gremlins. Mr. Futterman, the next door neighbor in Gremlins, the racist, xenophobic next door neighbor who's right about everything that goes on in the whole neighborhood. Yeah, Dick Miller. He was in Chopping Mall. He's been in
I think he was in the first Terminator movie. He runs the gun shop that Schwarzenegger goes into.
He's fucking awesome. Everything that he does is amazing. But the trash guy starts telling Dick Miller that they can dig through the trash because it's public property once it hits the curb. And so they're in the back, and I can't remember.
Bruce Dern shows up with half a shaven face.
And they look at Bruce Dern and they say, "Oh, thank God you're here. Please tell your friends to get out of the..." And he just head first jumps right in there. All three of them digging through the fucking garbage can. But they don't find anything. They just trash the neighborhood. But I think one of those little Joe Dante things he has to keep in the movie, that trash is always there.
Yeah.
Every time it goes by the house, no, they never cleaned it up. That pile of trash just lays in the middle of the road the whole time. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah. You gotta love it. That's when Bruce Dern's hot wife finds the dog. And she says, "Whoa, what's going on? You need to be fed." So she takes him home to the old man, but the old man isn't home. So then they're like, "Oh, these creepy neighbors, the Klopeks, are up to something."
Bruce Dern breaks into the guy's house. He takes the mirror off and he goes, "This is the army way."
Yeah. The soldier's way.
So, yeah.
It saves the day.
He's fucking great. So they break in, and they said, "It looks like a sign of breaking and entering." He's like, "No, the chair just fell down."
Yeah,
on
there's
the
just
ground.
a chair on its side and the TV's on. That's a sign of struggle.
So they start going through the house, and Tom Hanks happens upon his toupee. And he says, "Guys like that don't leave their house to go out without their toupee on."
Bruce Dern, he's like, there's something about these old guys? They never leave the house without their hair.
And the crazy part about that character is he's got such an eccentric personality and he barely speaks, but you know it so well by how they introduce him. Like, it's great.
Oh, the old man?
The old man, yeah, it's great.
You can tell this guy's a veteran stage actor. I don't even know. I'm just saying this off the top of my head, but just based on the way that he performs in this movie, he does a lot of performance with just his eyes. He doesn't say much of anything.
No.
I think you hear him say his dog's name once.
He does at the beginning of the movie.
He says, "Queenie," and that's it. And maybe you hear him mumble something to himself later on. But he shows so much, like, intent with just his eyebrows. And it happens a few times in the movie. I think
great,
it's done really well. Like, this guy definitely knows what he's doing with his eyes.
For sure. All the people Joe Dante picks for his movies are always like so excellent at what they do. You can tell he gets the most out of his people. And I think just from everything I've researched about Joe Dante, it's because he creates a set that people love being on. They love making movies with him because it's like more like just having a good time than making a project.
That's something I've noticed with this movie. So many movies, especially horror. I know this is more horror comedy, but almost even more so in horror comedy. There's a lot of wasted characters
all the time
that don't need to be there. This movie does not have a lot of fat.
And even the characters like the blonde throwaway wife character, she adds so much comedic value into certain scenes that like it feels like you couldn't take a person out of this movie and it wouldn't work.
Right,
if you took
every
them out of there.
character adds something to it. Even Corey Feldman's stupid friend that says,
Hey, man, when's the big unveiling, huh? Look, I gotta go to work in a couple hours, you know. Hey, man, piss off.
And
everything adds to the story.
Even when you're finally introduced to the Klopeks, each one of them has such an eccentric personality, even when they don't speak very much, that it's like they all fit really well.
Yeah, especially Ruben, the actor who plays him. I think his name is Brother something,
yeah.
I don't know what his backstory is, but that guy has one of the best mean mugs I've ever seen.
It's so good, and he like the camera just lingers on his face and doesn't cut. He just is so upset about everything. So they go into his house and they don't find him, and they leave. And the idiot next door neighbor has the bright idea to write on a piece of paper, "I know what you did."
Oh, but before that, Tom Hanks, after they're done searching the neighbor's house, he takes his dog because they don't find the neighbor. He tries to leave him a note to explain everything. He says, "I have your dog. Let me know.
Yeah.
Get a hold of me. I have your dog."
And slides the note under the door. Yep.
Yeah, so then the neighbor, Art, his dumbass, they leave him and Rumsfeld, they leave a note together under the door and they take off running.
Same thing, they ring the doorbell.
Yeah.
Bruce Dern grabs his hand really slowly, says, "We're going to ring this at the same time." And then they bolt off running and you just see the door creak open, the hand creep out, grabs
the note.
Yeah. It's really great. It's very, very slow timing. So Tom Hanks just like throws a fucking fit to them about like, "Why did you do that? Oh, you can't recognize the handwriting. They'll never know it was us." Like he's very adamant and upset about the fact that they put that. And I believe that is when he has his nightmare. After that, because he's scared.
Because they see the neighbor in the yard and he throws the note over the fence.
Yeah.
But oh no! Before that, he's standing in the backyard telling him that they left a note, and Tom Hanks is pissed that they left the note, like you said. But that's when the dog comes up with a bone, and Art just throws it and has him fetch it back, and then he brings it back a couple of times, and then Art holds it in his hand. He's like, "Do you know what this is?"
It's a femur.
It's like, "Yeah, it's a femur. This is The femur's... This is a bone. Yeah, it's a femur bone. So then that's when they see the neighbor toss the note over the door. And now Tom Hanks is freaking out that they're going to suspect him.
This is real. Your neighbors are murdering people. They're chopping them up. They're burying them in their backyard. Ray, this is Walter.
I think that's when Art comes over, and they're just... That's when they decide to go over there. The wives just ignore the femur bone altogether, and they're like, we're going to just go over there. Like, we're going to learn more in 40 minutes of...
Carrie Fisher leads the pack.
She does.
Yeah.
Like, and then the other hot wife, she's like, I'm going to make brownies.
Which Bruce Dern spills all over their patio.
Like, we're going to learn more in 20 minutes of nice conversation than you learned in 3 days of snooping.
Yeah, so they go up on the porch. Bruce Dern's leg goes through the porch. Spill the brownies all over the ground.
Oh, God, yes.
They finally knock on the door, and just weirdo.
Hans.
Yeah, weirdo answers the Irish-looking kid. And he's like, Bruce Dern makes some weird comment about the brownies.
Yeah, he picks him up off the ground and hands them to him and says... Something for the old sweet tooth. They got a bunch of wood in them and stuff.
Is Corey Feldman with them? I can't remember.
No, Corey Feldman, I think, is watching from off in the distance. Because they don't let Art come over because he's the one who's snooping around.
He's got, like, war paint all over his face.
Yeah, he doesn't have a wife. So...
She's not in town.
Yeah, his wife is out of town. So him and Corey Feldman... have this secret mission of trying to get into the backyard and see what's really going on.
Because there's been constant referral to them digging in the backyard.
Yeah, because between the time when they saw the one guy beating the shit out of the trash and the next day when they go through the trash and find nothing.
Tom Hanks saw
that night, Tom Hanks saw 3 of them digging in the backyard
They're all
in the middle of the rain. Yeah, and they don't make a huge deal about it. They kind of mention it.
Tom Hanks is legitimately creeped out by it, though. Like, he's fucking terrified.
They have a wonderful shot of that. And
with the fake rain.
Even though you know this movie's a comedy, that shot is just chilling to me. Even watching it in the context of a comedy, I see that shot and it's just...
Well, they're all digging. They're all digging in sync. Which makes it even creepier.
They're digging in sync, and then the lightning lights it up in just the right amount away.
It's a perfect set rain where you're in a building and they've got the machines going. Just the way it goes off the window, the way Tom Hanks is lit through the window, like,
and they're able to time the lightning in such a way that just really hits everything.
Yeah, it makes you really feel how terrifying it would be to think that some cult or something is in your neighborhood. Like,
but that's also where something comes into play that I don't think we've really mentioned yet, and that's the score.
Yes,
the score of this movie really does a great job of hitting you at your soul and making you feel every single feeling that you're supposed to be feeling throughout this movie.
Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith did the score, who I also believe did the score to Alien, if I remember correctly. Jerry Goldsmith has made soundtracks for his whole career that are just so well done, and you can tell, like I said, Joe Dante, attention to detail. Like, he wanted this to fit the movie perfectly.
I love the score to this movie so much. I'm almost sad that it wasn't used for a more serious horror movie. Because I feel like, especially during that time, during the 80s, the music from this movie very easily could have transitioned over to something more serious.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it definitely would have played off right. Because it does give you those creepy feelings, even though you know, first and foremost in this movie, that you're in a comedy. Mm-hmm. You are aware of that the entire time that you're in a comedy. But still, sometimes that score comes over and just starts to overtake it and say, hey, maybe it's not so funny.
Yeah. It's a comedy, but there's always like a lingering terror.
It is.
That's what works really well, and they trigger the music at a time where it doesn't really emotionally manipulate you, but it just complements what's on the screen so well. It sets the tone perfectly. Perfect atmosphere. This movie has it really well. But yeah, Tom Hanks sees them from the window, and so he already knows that something's going on. So the door opens and they go inside and he says, "Who do you live here with?" He says, "My uncle." And they go in the back and
Uncle Reuben.
Yeah, and you're introduced to Reuben, who just mean mugs
He's just
him.
standing too close.
And he's going around the table. He says, "Pretzel with sardines." And so Tom Hanks looks at Carrie Fisher like, "Should I take one of these?" And she's like, "Yeah."
Everybody else says no,
yeah.
but then Carrie Fisher's like, "Yeah, take a sardine."
So he takes one, and as he's eating it, Reuben is just watching him the whole time, and it just feels like it's in real time of him watching him eat this fucking. He's like, Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
Not to mention Bruce Dern the whole time. Bruce Dern is he has no caution.
Peeling at the wallpaper.
Yeah, he's just letting it be known. Hey, what's going on there, Rube? He says something to the other guy, Hans. He's like, "What's your name?"
Brumsfield's the name. Don't think I caught yours, Sonny.
Hans.
Hans. Oh, a fine Christian name. Hans Christian Andersen. What are you, Catholic?
I don't know.
And then it's great because you get that shot where the basement door flings open and you got the really hard light up against the wall, so you see a giant shadow, and then out of the shadow comes this really shrimpy looking tiny guy.
Yeah, and the actor, I can't put my finger on his name right now, but he's been in multiple
Yes,
other movies.
he's fantastic.
He does a great job, and he's just the classiest one in the whole family.
Yep, they go into another room and there's all these candles lit, and they're serving. He said, "I got a lot of candles because I thought they'd be sexy for the ladies."
Oh, yeah. But I love that when they first walk in, you got Bruce Dern playing the intimidation card. And he's coming up on Hans. He says, "Oh, nice picture. It's a cute girl, you know her?" It came with the frame.
They ask him forthright if they can go down into the basement. And for some reason, he doesn't let them go down there. I don't know why.
I think that...
They open the door, and the dog comes
Tom
out.
Hanks says he needs to go to the bathroom, because that's when Bruce Dern gets all upset, and he says, "What you got in the cellar, Herr Klopek?" Because he says about the neighbor, we don't know where the hell he is. So then he makes a straight up accusation. They're like, "Ray, what did you see?" Asking him about the burying in the backyard. And that's when he's like, "Oh, I gotta go to your bathroom." And then he opens the cellar door, and their giant ass dog comes out.
Chases him outside.
Bruce Dern says, "You keep a horse in the basement." That's when they decide to spy on him for real. They're going to break in because they know they're out of town. They left. So
Bruce Dern sets up all that heavy equipment on his roof. Yeah.
And Tom Hanks gets rid of his wife. Carrie Fisher and the son go off to the lake because he pulled the fast one and said that I'm going to talk some sense into these guys, but really he knew what was going on.
He's just a horrible husband. Yeah, he's absolutely terrible.
But they've got all the guys coming over. They're going to go break in. They're going to shut off the security system. They're going to get to the bottom of this one way or another. And that's when Corey Feldman calls his friends and says, "Hey, it's going to be live tonight. We're going to have to get all the people over here." And people just show up.
Yeah, so they cut the power lines in there to get through, and they manage to get their way into the basement, and Tom Hanks starts digging a giant fucking hole.
Oh, yeah, because they dug through the yard already, and they couldn't figure it out.
They didn't find anything. But the only problem is, while they're down there digging in the basement, the Klopeks start to head home with the police.
Oh, yeah, and they see that they've accidentally set off the furnace, and it lit up the basement, so they're like, oh, fuck this. So they come back with cops.
Yep, so they're down there. Tom Hanks is digging that hole. He hits what seems to be water, and he hits something and it makes a noise.
Oh, yeah, it's bubbling.
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh shit, dude, you hit the gas line," and so they
gets Art to get the hell out of there.
But then it goes up in flames.
It just blows up. Art comes running outside, and the whole place blows up. And then you have that moment of, oh shit, well, there's destruction goes on around you, and then Art realizes, oh no, Tom Hanks was still in there.
Mm-hmm. He's dead now, fried like a kebab. Yeah, but no, of course, because it's a 1980s movie. He comes walking out heroically, his eyes all swollen up and burnt to a fucking crisp. Yeah, so then he gets on the ambulance, he's like face first on the bed, and Carrie Fisher says she's going to meet him at the hospital, and they shut the door. And the ambulance starts driving off, and all of a sudden it stops, and the door opens, and it's Mr. Klopek.
Dr. Klopek.
Yep. Eric Lopez. Yeah, Eric Lopez is in the back, and he's got a syringe in his hand, and he goes, I know what you're hiding. He's like, what are you talking about? What am I hiding? He goes, no, I know what you're hiding. He's like, what? He's like, you saw one of my skulls. No, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see any of your skulls. And he starts trying to kill Tom Hanks because he admits to killing that family that lived there before they moved in. Yeah, the Naps.
And Hans is driving the ambulance.
He opens the thing. And then you get some wacky antics in the car. It's pretty great.
Oh yeah, he's trying to get him, and Tom Hanks reaches up in the front and causes Hans to swerve the wheel, but thank God. So I've mentioned before, Corey Feldman is the narrator. He doesn't really affect the plot except for at this very moment.
The best moment.
Because he called the pizza dude.
Yeah.
Since he called the pizza dude, he saved the day because Hans swerved, the pizza dude came in, crashed, pizzas came flying out.
Pizza dude!
So the gurney comes flying out with Tom Hanks and Dr. Klopek on it. Klopek's still trying to get him with the syringe. And he hits the trunk of the Klopek's car, reveals the bodies, and reveals it to the cops that the Klopeks really are murderers. Mm-hmm. And they've got the evidence now. And honestly, Corey Feldman reveals that evidence. Mm-hmm. We don't have any evidence! We do now!
Yep.
Corey Feldman saves the day.
He's the omnipotent being of this film.
And Tom Hanks is forgiven by his wife. He's forgiven by the police. He's forgiven by everybody.
They burned a whole house down.
And then at the end, you come back to Corey Feldman, the man who has brought us through this whole story. And he just laughs and says,
God, I love this street.
I love this street.
And he says, where are you going, sir? He's like, I'm taking a vacation.
Yeah, keep an eye on them.
Yeah, keep on an eye. Door shuts. Before credits roll. Reverse shot. Back into the Universal logo.
Yeah, because Corey Feldman says, I love this street. And then they bring it back and they reverse the opening shot. Which to me, there's not really much of a better way to bookend your movie than if you can effectively and sensibly end your movie with the reverse of the opening shot. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I think Tom Hanks is like him and Bruce Dern are like the driving force in the movie. For sure. Corey Feldman's great when he's thrown in for a couple moments. I like when he's in the movie, but like Bruce Dern, he's just fucking absurd from start to finish. Best part of the movie. Love it. And Corey Feldman's always fun. I enjoy him and everything. We recommend this one.
It's a very well-rounded movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you like a good combination of horror with comedy, you really can't do a whole lot better in the late 80s.
If you watched Gremlins and you like that style, Joe Dante, it's where it's at. Watch it. Enjoy yourself.
Yeah, so with that, I don't really have any negatives about this movie.
No, like I said, my only things, there's a couple moments I felt were bloated. Maybe on a rewatch, I'd feel a little bit more.
You're dead to me. There were no bloated moments. No fat.
But other than that, I think it's really enjoyable, and everybody should watch it at least once, for sure.
For sure.
Get that prime late 80s, early 90s Tom Hanks.
For an 89 movie, this movie has aged well.
You know what we forgot to mention? We'll drop it in right now. Remember the foreshadowing to Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers later on in his career?
Oh my God, that was beautiful.
Mind your own business! It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in the neighborhood with you, so let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you be my neighbor? Hey, Ray!
Hello, neighbor.
Won't you be my neighbor?
Hello, neighbor.
Hello, neighbor.
And goodbye, fuckers.